Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a disassembly of a Xbox One and repasting the thermal paste on the CPU. So first thing you're going to do is you just need a little pry tool. You're going to pick off the left side of the Xbox right here on these little tabs. You're just going to gently pop them out. And then this end over here, you're going to kind of just pry it open just slightly, and then it should just pop right off like that. There's that. We're just going to set that to the side. Next is going to be your sync button. There's a little plastic piece, and just like that, you're just going to slide it out. And if it's a little stuck, you can pull up on the sync button just slightly, and that'll just slide right out. Next thing we're going to do is use that same pick tool, and you're just going to go around the edges between the top and the bottom of the console, and you're just going to work your way around it, gently pulling those two pieces apart and popping them off. Once you do that, you'll be able to just move the top lid and just kind of roll it over to the front. And if you feel like yours is getting a little stuck, that's okay. Just make sure that nothing is binding and just gently push it forward until it just pops off. This one had a little bit of trouble, so it did sound like it broke, but nothing happened. Now here on the front, there's going to be a ribbon cable. You need to make sure that you remove that. And you do that, this little blue piece right here that is wrapped around the chip, it'll be wrapped around right here. You just pull it forward so it's not wrapped around it, and then you just slide the cable out. On the chip, it'll have a little piece where you could actually slide it forward that releases the ribbon cable. And then we're just going to remove the speaker wire and your Wi-Fi antenna, and you just go ahead and unplug those. And then you can just set them to the side. Next thing we're going to do is use our Torx bit. I believe it's a Torx 8, and we're just going to take the Wi-Fi module chip off. And this is plugged in, so you want to gently pull from both sides and lift it up gently, just like that. And then you'll see right here where it is, where it's plugged in. Next thing we're going to do is take off the 8 screws that are right here. These are also Torx bits, sorry. And there should be 8 of them. They should all be labeled on the Xbox itself as C's. So we're going to take all of those out. Just be gentle with them. This is what's holding on the bottom half of the console, and it's plastic. So you can go ahead and pause here if you need some time to work on it. But once you have those 8 screws removed, we can separate the chassis, I guess you would call it, from, oh, look at that, from the bottom plastic cover. And then we're going to set that aside. Once we have it all disassembled, it'd be good, obviously, clean everything, the plastics, everything, give everything a wipe down. Now right under here on the top half of the cover, you're going to have a little cable, and you want to just gently pull on that and pull it up and disconnect that. Make sure you don't just rip off the top cover. I'll go ahead and set that to the side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the disk drive and the hard drive. And you just do that by, again, pulling up on the ribbon, not the ribbon cables, but the cables, and just disconnect those. And then the disk drive is going to slide up because it's going to be kind of on the front right there, and then the hard drive just kind of rests there. The 8 screws that we took out earlier is what holds this in, so now there's nothing holding it. We're just going to set those to the side. We're going to give them a clean before we reassemble. Now we're going to take off the front panel, the chip on the front, and it's just 3 screws, again, Torx bits, and we're just going to remove that. You want to be very gentle with this. It's very thin and very flimsy, and when reassembling it, you want to make sure that you do not over tighten it. But again, just like the Wi-Fi module, this is plugged into the motherboard, so once you get the screws removed, don't just pull it off. I'll show you here, right at the bottom right there, it's plugged in, so you want to gently work it out and pull it out. There you go. Give that board a little wipe down, get all the dust off of it. Now you're going to have these little black retainers. They're just like, you just squeeze them together and then they pop out and they'll go flying around, so just be careful with that. So we're going to set those to the side. Be very gentle with those, because if you break them, then you need to replace them, because you do need them. This one's going to be held in by a Torx bit screw. Sorry. And so just go ahead and take that out. And actually, I'm just going to put the screw right in here just so I don't forget which one is which. Set that to the side. And now we're going to disconnect the fan. And then we're going to flip it over. So right here, you're going to have 4 screws in the middle, and that's holding the heatsink to the CPU. And then you're going to have 2 right here, and then there's going to be 2 on the right side on the top right corner of the screen. There's going to be 2 more screws right there that you'll need to take off. These 2 right here that I'm working on. I like to actually start with the outside 4 first and then do the CPU after. And once you do that, let's flip it back over, and then you're going to work on gently getting the motherboard out of the chassis. Sometimes the USB plugs on the side or on the rear, the HDMI ports, stuff like that, you want to be very gentle with those and make sure that when you're doing that, you're not putting too much pressure on them and breaking the solder joints. So just work it out gently and get it out of the chassis. And then we're going to give all of this a good cleaning. So if you don't have the tool, the X-clamp tool, I'm going to show you here. You still want to be very careful, but without the tool, it is possible to get the X-clamps off, and I'm going to kind of show that to you here. You want to put one tool where I'm placing it here, and then by doing that and applying a little bit of pressure, it should relieve the pressure on the other side directly across on the X-clamp. If it doesn't and it's still not coming out, what you can do is you can grab another tool with an end on it. And while you're applying pressure on one side, you use the other side to pry it up. And I know my hands are covering it, so I'll kind of demonstrate it here. But you're going to place that in there, and then with this side, you're going to pull up on that side, on the opposite side. And then that'll get it to relieve it from there. And then you do the same thing on one of the other sides of the X, which will then pop off the adjacent side. Now that's if you don't have the tool. I recommend getting the tool. It's much easier and you don't risk hitting the board or anything. So we're going to clean up all of this. We're going to clean up all the paste and get that ready for the new thermal paste. We're going to be using MX4. It's what I like, and it's never let me down. And I'm going to speed this up here because I'm going to go ahead and give the whole board a good cleaning. I have OCD when it comes to this stuff, so I get every single little piece that I can out of there. You're doing all the work, you might as well do it right. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and place the new MX4 on there, and then I'm going to spread it out. Originally I wasn't going to spread it out, but then I just decided to do it, so you're going to kind of see a little break in the video here. Originally I was just going to do it like that and then let the CPU kind of spread it out, or not the CPU, the heatsink, sorry. So now I'm just going to clean up the edges. It's okay if it kind of spreads out over the CPU and goes onto the motherboard. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, but I just like it to look good while I'm putting it back together. So I'm going to clean it up. This would be a good time to pause the video and clean everything, clean all your pieces because we're going to start reassembling. Let's go ahead and face all the plugs to you on the back of the motherboard, just so you know the orientation, and then the side of the heatsink with the fan with the cable is what's going to be facing you. Make sure that they align with the holes and go ahead and place that down. Now you're just going to lift up on the motherboard with your thumb, hold the fan in place so it doesn't slide around, and continue to hold the fan, flip it over, and then set that down and apply pressure where the CPU is so that the board doesn't lean to the other side. Just keeps the paste from getting all crazy. You're going to grab your X clamp, place one side into the groove, and then one other side into the groove. And then you're just going to gently push down. I'm actually pushing it in the wrong place right there, but right where my index finger is now, you're going to press right there. And that causes the X clamp to bend a little bit and actually go right into the groove. It might take a little bit of force, but try not to bend the motherboard while you're doing that. And there you go. That's it. Pop that in. You can flip it back over, inspect everything, make sure everything's good. And then go ahead and re-plug it in. Now with your bottom half of the chassis clean, you can go ahead and place the motherboard back in. It only goes in one way, but here I like to just place in the back half. It'll actually help if you slide it to the right just a little bit of the chassis and then slide right in, just like you saw right there. It was very subtle, but that is what happened. And then you want to look around it and make sure that all the ports are aligned with the outer casing. So this corner is a little off, so I'm just going to press down on it a little bit and it'll actually just pop right in. There we go. So now you can see that it's aligned good. Give it a little spinny spin for no absolute reason. Going to flip it back over and we're going to reattach the screws. Remember there's the 2 screws by the USB port, the 4 screws right here in the middle, and then the 2 on the other side. The 4 for the CPU were black, and then the outer ones were silver, I believe. Everything's nice and tight. You don't want to over tighten any of these. A lot of this is easily breakable. And so you just want to just snug it up and then that's good enough. Let's get these last 4 screws in. And then I'm going to move on to the next step. Kind of wish I had one of those like power mini screwdrivers, but I also don't like using anything power related when I'm reassembling because it's just really easy to break stuff and over tighten and strip and cross thread. But it would be so much faster, man. Okay, let's flip it back over. So now we're going to go ahead and put the what are those things called? I don't even know. The little plastic pieces, little stands, I guess, spacers. There's two little pins right there. You're just going to place those inside the holes of the motherboard, and then we're going to reattach it with the screw. I don't even know what you call these things. Screw holders? I don't know. Now that we have that one in, we're going to go ahead and go to the front and do the two black ones. Same thing, just align the pins with the holes on the motherboard, and then you might have to squeeze the tabs just slightly to get it to go back in. You want to be gentle with these because they're plastic, and if it's old, brittle, the previous person didn't take care of them, then they could break very easily and you'll have to replace it before you put this back together. So take your time, be gentle. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put the front board back on, and we're going to place it back into its plug right here. Just gently. The board is very flimsy, so you want to be careful. And this is where I was talking about not over tightening it. Just get it snug, and that's good enough. I wouldn't even say snug, like a little less than snug. I started with the middle and then worked on the outer right, and then went back into the outer, or the inside left. We're going to put the disk drive and the hard drive back in. The hard drive is a little easier than the disk drive because it just sits there. So you just match the holes with where they go. You'll see the two little pins right here have a spot on the motherboard, and so they'll slide in there so it doesn't move around while you're working on it. And then go ahead and attach the cables. The disk drive is just as easy, but you do have to kind of get it to fit right back in that front hole on the chassis. So you got to kind of work it into the right area. So that's what I was talking about right here. There's little pins. They're only going to be on the back side, and then the front is going to rest on the chassis. So you just make sure that those fit into the holes on the motherboard, and then it should align right on the front. And that's the area that I was talking about, where it just needs to fit kind of the right way. And it's nice and snug. It's not moving anywhere. It's going to reattach the cables. Now, before you put the top cover on, make sure we reattach that cable in the corner right next to the white pin. And that's going to make sure that your Wi-Fi and your internet works. So as you can see, I failed to demonstrate that here, which I later figured out when I couldn't restore the Xbox One. So don't make that mistake. Make sure that you reattach that cable to the motherboard. I'm going to reattach the speaker on the front. Now that the bottom half is nice and clean, we can go ahead and put the motherboard and chassis back into the lower half, into its appropriate spot. And again, just make sure everything lines up on the back, all the ports, which they are. So now you can get your 8 screws, and all the ones that are labeled with a C. So right there, right there, right there, right there. If you see a P or any other letter, then the 8 screws do not go there. Top left corner, bottom right corner, right there. The one right next to the speaker cable. And then the one right here closest to the fan. So that's going to be your 8 spots right there. And then just go ahead and tighten those up. Do not over tighten them. The bottom half, what you're screwing this into is plastic. And so if you screw it over too much and over tighten it, they will break. Once you have all those tightened up, then we can go ahead and move on to the next step. We're going to put the Wi-Fi module back on, and it's going to be the 2 black screws, and just make sure that it plugs in correctly. Now if you don't connect that ribbon that I was talking about in the beginning of the video, or that I was just talking about just a minute ago, your internet will not work and you'll have a lot of errors. And then we're going to reconnect the Wi-Fi antenna right here. Again, be gentle with it. It should go on easily. You should not have to force it. So if you're having trouble with it plugging in, then it's not seated correctly. So just make sure that it's right, and then it'll just pop right on. We got the 2 screws. Again, do not over tighten any of these. It's very easy to break them. You don't want to do that. So when I was putting the top cover back on right here, the ribbon cable, don't forget about that. But when I was putting the top cover back on, I was having a lot of issues trying to get the ribbon cable on with the top cover. And what I found was, so there's a little piece right there. You just got to pull it out with your like your fingernail or something. Just pull it out right there. And then that way the ribbon cable can slide in from the side here easily. Trying to put the cover back on as one piece is a huge pain. There's little tabs on here, and I apologize I didn't get it on the video here. I thought I did, but it was out of frame. There's little tabs that separate the front half right here. You see them? These little tabs, and the top half. And if you just pry up on those just slightly with your fingers, they'll all pop off. This makes the reassembly 10 times easier if you just do that. So this way you'll just be able to put the ribbon cable back on. You could see what you're doing, because when it's like this, you can't see anything, and it's hard to get your hand around it, especially if you have big hands. So take that top part off. It makes it a hell of a lot easier, and then you'll be able to just put the ribbon cable back in, and it makes the reassembly just a lot easier. So make sure that the ribbon cable is wrapped around the port, and then once you have that in, you just slide that back in, slide the ribbon cable back in, and then close the, I don't even know what you would call that thing, the little part that we pulled out just to kind of loosen the ribbon cable. So you're just going to kind of rock it forward, back in. Just make sure that everything's aligned, all the corners, all the ends. You'll see on the bottom there where they kind of rock back into place. And again, don't force it. It should just gently go back in, just like that. Make sure the wires aren't pinched. So then now we can just put the top half back on. And I'm going to demonstrate that here. You might have to pull the front face forward just a little bit, but just make sure that they go back in, they clip in, and then once they do, then you can rock backwards to the back half of the console, and it's just that much easier instead of messing with everything. All those are going to clip back together. Just make sure that the back grate is not bent outward or anything like that. It's all aligned properly like that. And we're going to go ahead and put the left side back in, which you're going to start with your sync button. Oh yeah, by the way, if you don't plug in that Wi-Fi cable that I was telling you about, well, it's not the Wi-Fi cable, but the cable that on the top of the chassis to the motherboard, your sync button will not work. So if you've ever had it serviced and your sync button stopped working, you need to disassemble it and check if that was plugged back in. I'm just going to slide it back in just like that. And then the side piece is just going to clip right back into place. And the front, where the sync button is going to kind of rock into place. And you just press it all back in. And then that's it. You've just disassembled and reassembled an Xbox One, repasted and cleaned. So this console is going to be good for many, many more years to come. We went and plugged it back in, and we're just going to boot it up really quick. Just make sure that everything was done correctly. And there we go. On to the next one. Thanks, guys.